Some days the news can be a little boring. This was not one of those days, but it was a little bit noisy. So let me help you pull out the important stuff and we'll make it a little bit easier. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm Brian, and this is the morning report for the federal courts for September 16th, 2025. Do me a favor, tap your screen, comment your thoughts on the pumpkin spice latte, and try to watch at least a minute, even if you're coming back later. It really helps me hit the FYP. Grab your coffee and let's buckle up. All right, real quick to start, word just released that the judge in Luigi Mangione's case has thrown out several of the state charges against him, including the first-degree murder with terroristic intent charge. Now, federal charges remain, but this is still a big part of the decision, so I will follow up when I have more. Next, Donald Trump has sued the New York Times. And no, this is not a glitch in the Matrix. This time I said the New York Times, not the Wall Street Journal, not CBS, not ABC, New York Times. Now, this new suit is a bit more scattered than some of the past ones. It's sort of a smattering of complaints, more than one like specific allegation, but I've sort of narrowed it down to the following actual complaints. 1. The Times says that NBC launched Trump's celebrity career with The Apprentice, and Trump believes he was already a celebrity. 2. Trump and his family engaged in tax fraud. 3. Trump had a, quote, lifetime of scandals. And 4. He says that the Times falsely quoted his former chief of staff, warning that he would rule like a dictator. So, I've gone through defamation law with you guys before, and particularly when you're an elected official, the First Amendment allows a fair amount of play when it comes to saying bad things about you without the risk of a defamation suit. But Trump really does seem to like defamation suits, so maybe he's just working his way through the media. The big question here is whether the luck of the draw is going to snag him one of the 6 judges he's appointed in the Middle District of Florida, because that was sort of the deciding factor in the CBS case and the reason they ultimately settled, at least as far as I can tell. So, he's sued for $15 billion with a B. Meanwhile, that suit against the Wall Street Journal claiming that the drawing in the Epstein book didn't exist has gone very quiet. So far, copies of the complaint are pretty hard to find, so I bought a copy off Pacer. It's in my shared documents under the Trump defamation case if you would like to take a look for yourself. All right, one of the main reasons I didn't sleep last night is this Lisa Cook case, Cook v. Trump. Dr. Cook was appointed to the Federal Reserve Board for 14 years, but Donald Trump is not happy with the board. It's not adjusting interest rates to make the economy look better for his presidency, so he's trying to fire her so he can pack the board with friendlier faces. And last night, we had probably a little too much drama over the last-minute attempt to force the lower court to allow Dr. Cook to be replaced before this morning's meeting. But the attempt was rebuffed by the Court of Appeals at about 8:30 p.m. last night, and I guess by that time it was just too late to go to the Supreme Court. Kavanaugh was already tucked in with his evening creme de menthe, and Gorsuch had put on his bunny slippers. Do not interrupt him once the bunny slippers are on. Oof. The president argued that he can remove Dr. Cook from her position, quote, for cause, and that he has cause to do so, but the Court of Appeals disagreed, finding that because Dr. Cook is protected from being fired without cause, she is guaranteed procedural due process. So if the president has to provide a reason or cause for firing her, then she gets a chance to dispute that cause, and according to the court, the government doesn't really disagree that she was never given a chance to do so. So, until she's given a chance to do so, she is guaranteed that by the Fifth and 14th Amendments. So, the Hail Mary was denied, and Gorsuch's bunny slippers remained on his feet. Meanwhile, the Senate did rush to confirm a new member of the board just in time to get one more Trump-friendly voice into the mix. But I misunderstood this last night, and I thought this was a new person going in there to replace Dr. Cook. So I had to post an extra video late last night to apologize for that. Sorry again, I do make mistakes. But meeting's going on now, and really decisions over the actual rates are way outside of my wheelhouse, so I'm just here for the law. If you guys want to talk about that, go ahead. I'm sure there are better people, better qualified to talk about that, so I'm just going to move on. All right, Randolph Institute, no relation, the North Carolina Board of Elections. This is a voting case, which I always think are important. Yesterday, the Fourth Circuit overturned the rule on felons not being able to vote in North Carolina, holding that the laws are clearly rooted in systematic attempts to prevent black men, particularly from voting in, and that the law continues to suppress the vote in black communities as it's applied today. So, first, the court looks at the origins of the anti-felony constitutional and statutory provisions heading way back to the post-Civil War period when they were written. And according to the court, they break it down in detail, but they were clearly designed to restrict the voting rights of black men. But in the modern era, the laws were amended to allow the right to vote to be restored for felons, but they were really confusing. And they made it a crime for any felon to vote who had not gone through the process of having their voting rights restored. And they made that crime a felony, which sort of created this feedback loop where people would think they'd gotten their rights restored, they'd try to vote, they'd find out they did something wrong, which was really easy to do apparently, and then lose the right to vote all over again with a new felony. And this had the general effect of scaring people away from voting in general, because voting became known particularly in poorer black communities as something that could lead to prison. So in 2023, recognizing that this was a problem, the law was amended so that only knowingly voting without your rights restored would be a felony. If you did it by accident, it wouldn't cause this feedback loop, and that sort of fixed the problem technically. But in the ruling yesterday, the Fourth Circuit said that just wasn't enough. This was 150 years of damage that couldn't be cleaned up this easily. The idea that voting was dangerous was too deeply ingrained in the population without a more dramatic change. So, from now on, the right to vote will be automatically reestablished for felons after they complete their sentences and parole and whatever else, but there won't be a confusing and often intimidating administrative hurdle anymore. The rights will just turn back on, which is actually very common in northern states, but North Carolina will become the first southern state with automatic reestablishment of voting rights for felons. And frankly, I think this is great news. I'm always in favor of more people voting, so I'm very happy about this. All right, last one. Don Quixote Trump continues his noble battle against the wind farms of America. Last week we talked about attempts to cancel an offshore wind farm in Rhode Island that was already 90% built. And now we have yet another one off the coast of Ocean City, Maryland, for which Trump says he plans to cancel the permits. First, in late August, the administration pulled a grant that was funding the building of a new steel plant in Maryland because it was going to be used to fabricate portions of the new windmill parts. But of course that also means a lot of blue-collar jobs aren't coming to the area. But now the administration is going directly after the wind farm's building permits. U.S. Wind, the company running the project, alleges that federal officials were pressured by politicians, including the president and opponents of wind energy, to cancel renewable energy projects, and they've brought what's actually a somewhat confusing series of claims and counterclaims that I won't bother you with, but they're fighting to keep the project alive. That's the point. Donald Trump has long said that windmills cause cancer and kill birds and has really focused on stopping wind projects. We'll see how this progresses as he continues to dream his impossible dream. Yeah, I did that. All right, that is your Tuesday morning report on the past day in federal courts. I'm going to go watch Man of La Mancha. Thank you for watching, everybody, and have a fantastic day.